Welcome to Lebowski's. Lebowski is my way of saying I'm doing a portfolio. So where is the money, Lebowski? This is where the money is. Welcome, welcome. So you can see that most of my billing, let me correct that, all of my billing now is pretty much under the 50 quid mark. Anything where I can't be certain that it could not be reinterpreted or seen as a political donation, I keep it under 50 quid, because if it's under 50 quid, I don't have to track it or do any real kind of upkeep of the books and all that. I can just relax and just take donations. Everything under 50 quid, fantastic. Now, looking at Holism Incorporated, and what is Holism Incorporated, you might ask? It's rather like a tamed beast. There used to be like a kind of a, corporations, big stinky Skynet corporations and whatnot, we don't want them, do we? No. We want a nice, healthy corporation. Try and have a capitalist reformation. It's an industrial strategy of mine. Holism Incorporated is an industrial strategy as well as a brand. It's a brand and an idea. Something like a moonshot level of a reformation of capitalism. Capitalism at the moment is very bad. It shouldn't be like this. No, it should not be like this. We have a kind of stinky monopoly corporate capitalism. What we need to have is more local, friendly, healthy capitalism where we're building businesses, making our community better, healthier, cleaner, and safer, etc., etc. And that is what holism is. Holistic businesses. Universal holistic business plans are Holism Incorporated, and they are generally open source. Now, when it comes to the aggression will not stand, yeah, there's a cool picture there. I hope you can see that of me with one of my Bernie t-shirts on. So I'm a Bernie Sanders inspired politician, and Holism Incorporated is kind of inspired by the Green New Deal. It is a kind of Green New Deal type thing. However, the money being put into the economy will come in the form of business loans to free traders, let me rephrase that, sole traders, to do this work, holistic work in the community, all right? Now, Consider It Done is my kind of post-hospitality career experience, really trying to bring that into my politics and into my business management and whatnot. Anyone that's worked in hospitality, you and I have some solidarity, don't we? We've been through hell together, haven't we? We're all like soldiers on the battlefield and all that in hospitality. Hospitality for me now, I am a progressive person. I believe in trying to sort our planet out so we have a sustainable future. A great deal of what goes on in the hospitality sector is rather toxic, particularly towards staff and all the rest of it. So one has to have a progressive attitude to these things. And so what I do nowadays, I work independently, so I don't have a boss here. What I'd like to do is be planning and running events in the community that are community positive events, like this one here, the Shore o' Leith Docks Lovely Bicycle Rally. The Lovely Bicycle Rally is a way to bring lovely bicycles down to the town of Leith, the Shore of Leith, where we have lovely businesses. Have you noticed how nice the businesses are here in Leith? They're so very, very nice. Maybe that's why you're here. Maybe you're here reading this because you've got a wonderful business down at the Shore of Leith. The fact that you still have a business down the Shore of Leith after what's happened to us down here, well, that's rather a small miracle. And hopefully an event like the Lovely Bicycle Rally, which would be a fantastic event with lots of kind of sponsored bikes by marketeers and fantastic creatives from around the town and just anywhere really, at a sort of post fringe era of the year, part of the year. And we have a procession of wonderful bicycles advertising your business and promoting green investment, green ideas, green business, green activity of a productivity that helps improve the environment. Isn't that fantastic? The Lovely Bicycle Rally. Adjacently to that, I also provide any kind of graphics that you might need. Graphic design is a fairly straightforward effort now that we've got the wonderful Canva and all that, so you can see some prices there. If you maybe need menus, you need branding material. Crucially, this is to do with preparing the kind of campaign materials like what you're watching now. So videos of any kind, media, you name it, we can kind of do it. Cool thing about that is that small enterprise, local business can get a dude like me, very bite-sized billing, and we can actually have a thing called the billboard community, the Billboard Baggins Community Billboard, and once you get onto that, you're in the right place for that as well. One particular campaign of mine would be just generally being the new Yankees of Edinburgh. So Edinburgh people, if you don't like Mr. Trump, if you're against Mr. Trump, then you and I, we've got to be on the same side, haven't we? We've got to sort of team up and stuff like that. So the new Yankees of Edinburgh is Leith's very own anti-Trump campaign. And let's hope that it's a positive one that will win. So a little bit more on my politics while we're on that. So politics is the core thing that's going on here, right? I want to win an election, MSP and MP, because the ones that we have here in Leith are hopeless, absolutely rubbish. And so basically an average person from the community, this is my thinking, an average non-corrupt person from the community is superior. I am a constitutionalist and a pragmatist. These are the two key words for understanding my politics. As in, my constitutionalist, because I believe in law and order, which is something we don't currently enjoy here. No, sorry, no, we don't have that. Pragmatist, I am a pragmatist. I'm into pragmatism, and I like to be a little bit of a socialistic-minded person and a capitalistic-minded person, and I don't find that they are in competition with one another at all. I don't find that there's much clash, really. I find actually the case to be that they are harmony, really, to be honest. So I consider myself a comprehensive activist, a romanticist, and a provocateur. So some of what I say, and you might find this in my content, some of it is provocative, to create provocation, to get discussion and banter around complicated and serious things. It's a very complicated and serious time. Generally speaking, I'm a Bernie Sanders-inspired candidate. That's the sort of flavour of politics you get from me. The donations, we've covered that. I'm related to Robert Burns, hence why he pops up rather a bit in my material. And I do think we should abolish the tinsel show. This is what we have, particularly local to Leith. We have a tinsel show. People who are just not fit really to represent the community that they're from. People who are really unworthy of politics are in our politics. Surely we can all agree on that. I myself, not one to be too narcissistic and all that, but I do believe that I could do a better job of what we currently have in power. I think that most people around the country could do a better job than those we have in power, because they're rather corrupt and all the rest of it, aren't they? So it's pretty grim. What you're seeing now, hopefully, if I've timed my video correctly, is something around about open source politics and how we're going to fix this mess kind of thinking. I think that, as I've said, we need legit candidates, people with a business behind them. Mine was Pilates. This, of course, could be anything from the local community. Just people who have got some business savvy, are quite socialistic in their mentalities and humanistic. You can see that we need a healthy society to have a healthy market. A healthy society and a healthy market are kind of the same thing, if you think about it. Things are very unhealthy in society, and what do you know? We've got a terrible market, haven't we? With that in mind, we want to have politicians. They need support, don't they? They need resources. We need to have politicians who've got backing of the community. I'm trying to really set out a business plan, a model for how one could go from somewhere in a small medium enterprise up and down the country, anywhere, to get into politics directly with a similar culture, non-hate culture, an anti-fascist culture, positive on all things kind of culture, non-toxic politics, basically. How do we get non-toxic people into politics is the answer. We need this thing that I call Epoch Nova. This is the new age constitution. What I'd like to do is run a president's suite here. So this is the presidential suite, not because I'm presidential, but there's a cat here who is very presidential. He is the president of cats. He's wonderful. And so there's a kind of therapeutic vibe space here with my Pilates studio, now becoming a bit of an office space as well, where I do all this work. So that sharing that and opening that up to the public would be really advantageous. If you can back me and support me, that would be much appreciated. Now, with regards to Epoch Nova, what does that mean? Well, Epoch Nova means new age. It's a new age constitution. I call it the politician's oath. This is a way of creating a bond between me, the politician, and you, the supporters, a subscriber, sponsor person, that is akin to a kind of contract of sorts, right? A contract as best we can get it. A much more regulated market in politics is what we're after, right? Regulated market in politics, as in we can't have completely rogue politicians who work for a corporation and work for Skynet operatives and work for PR companies, or a member of some kind of mafioso corporate cabal, an oligarchy type thing. No. We need to get people from the community, people I sometimes refer to in my satirical banter as the hobbits. So hobbits are people, as we know from the Tolkien work, who don't want the ring of power, do they? They're going to have to take the ring of power, and when they take power, they manage power in this way. Epoch Nova presents, first of all, with the judicial oath, so not being able to tell lies about any government business at all, and a need to go along with what the people want, fundamentally. Fundamental guarantee that I call the people's democratic imperative is a way of saying that if the country have a very strong feeling that something should happen, it must happen, and a candidate that does not go along with what the country wants is one that we should be able to remove immediately, so that we get, the people, that's me, you, and everybody, we get what we want democratically. What does the democratic vote say? What is the mandate? That must happen. All right, and that is what Epoch Nova is all about. It's creating a constitutional environment where our candidates work for the community only. There is no third party. There is no actual party of any kind. It's just literally me operating as a one-man band, trying to demonstrate this as a way of going about it. Many people run successful platforms and media operations all on their own. I think a lot of these people would make fantastic politicians. Maybe they're a bit reluctant. Maybe they're worried about getting into a party. I would hope that Epoch Nova would cater to that market. Epoch Nova, new age candidate. Oh, what are you? Well, I'm a new age candidate. I only take my money from the community. And so I'm a community politician, whether I'm in elected seat or not. Okay, so that's my plan, to be elected, not well, hopefully to be elected, of course, trying to win elections, but have a plan for should maybe we not win any elections, all right? As for sovereignty over here, Epoch Nova 2, which is a kind of a future document, which is a way of trying to reconcile power, taking back control, taking back power, having powerlessness is how we feel, right? I feel like that, don't you? I think we need to have a sovereign power. I think that in America, even if they've got Trump in charge, they've got a fascistic power, horrendous. Meanwhile, we need to have something better, don't we? Look at what's happened over there in America. Look at that constitutional nightmare that has taken over there, and understand that it doesn't need to be that way, and understand that we can do what we can to improve matters by choosing candidates from the community. Good people, me, you. Think of politics in Epoch Nova is kind of like closer to jury duty or something. Do you know what I mean? Our representatives could be anybody. Anyone could pick up and go and do the job. It's becoming representative at a level where there's ambivalence in the nation, when the nation is not clear about right or wrong. However, it is absolutely rock solid that we must go along. A politician must go with what the majority wants. It's very clearly in the Constitution. Now, adjacent to that is the White Collar Crime Bill. So the White Collar Crime Bill would be the piece of legislation that would make Epoch Nova a legit thing, right? So it would take Epoch Nova up from being a bit of prose, a piece of a promise between you and I, something that we're subscribing to because we choose to being something that is constitutional matter, something that is transcendent, something that has royal assent, and you can see that it's not an act of sedition at all. It's kind of embracing of monarchy. Should monarchy be the people's choice, then that's what we get. Shouldn't be any doubt about that at all, really. And any kind of Epoch Nova is a kind of higher level of democracy, higher level of control over our candidates to conform to democracy, right? In a legal way, they must conform to democracy. And the White Collar Crime Bill would be one of the best ways to put that through. Also, the White Collar Crime Bill would come with lots of other fascinating things about how we can improve the community in the world, deleting corporate power. I sometimes refer to the White Collar Crime Bill and Epoch Nova as taking the ring back to Mordor, as it's a way of kind of, for the Hobbit people, that'd be me and you, those who don't lust for the power to do bad things, but want power to take it back to the fires of Mordor and throw it in there, as a way of getting rid of the corporate power, like altogether, in principle, to remove it, the feature of our lives, having our lives dominated and controlled in this way, doesn't need to be the case. I don't think it should be. Now, this Good Apples project here, this next one that's hopefully appearing on your screen, if I've timed this reasonably well, you've got the Good Apples is a way of dealing with our rogue justice system. Again, a great deal of problems that we have are holistic, aren't they? They seem to affect lots of different areas of life. So the Good Apples would be a way of employing a group of senior lawyers to help us figure out what can we do with this god-awful justice system at the moment. It's a completely bogus justice system. It's in fact selling injustice for money, isn't it? And making innocent people guilty and making guilty people innocent. It just seems to be a common feature of it. Very disappointing scenario. We need change. Now, why is change quite urgent for me personally? Well, there's a backstory that is, I don't know how public that is now, but something involving a family matter, very serious matter. Not a joke at all. Serious moment here. The few brands you're seeing in front of you at the moment, hopefully, are the Dadifesto, which is to do with gender justice for dads, and the Magdalene Act to do with gender justice for women and girls. Women and girls coming under physical assault, experiencing reproductive rights violation, and on the other side, the Dadifesto side is the sort of when kids are alive, we've ended up with dynamics, toxic power and control coming from mothers, or any parent really. I mean, the Dadifesto, that's obviously part of being a provocateur and such, that one has to communicate in this way. It does seem to be the case that dads are at extreme disadvantage, beyond belief disadvantage, in the field of parenting. So we have disadvantage among reproductive rights, and reproductive rights violations are just completely almost decriminalized. An outrage. This must change. Same as the experience I've had being the dad on the side of having one's kids very much weaponized, removed against one's wishes, all sorts of deviant outcomes that are completely unacceptable, but I am learning are the norm. Next door to this, you have this proposal of mine called the Safe Parents Alliance. Now, the Safe Parents Alliance, you can see his little phone there, It's really just quite simply to be a 116123 inspired service. I've done some time as a 116123 volunteer listening person. So if you keep in mind of 116123, should you be any kind of crisis, mental health struggles, whatnot you're going through, need of emotional support, I recommend 116123 rather than talking to any of the NHS services. NHS services are extremely poor. They're so poor, in fact, that they're doing harm of a net negative situation coming from our mental health sector. I would improve matters with Happy Barras. Happy Bars Cognitive Health Plan, and also Safe Parent Alliance. The Self-Litigation Society is a way to take the Mackenzie Friend services, which seem to be a benefit in other economies and spaces, or law spaces, and trying to get a more holistic situation where parents are not failed so utterly, terribly, terribly badly by this god-awful justice system that we have. Really, if you're in the justice system at the moment, I really think you ought to be utterly ashamed. The performance of our justice at the minute is just a complete disaster. The legal sector, the courts themselves, and of course the cops. All of this needs to be looked at, needs to be reconsidered. We have disastrous outcomes going on all the time. Meanwhile, this cute thing, Happy Bars, you can see it's a mental health crisis response inspired by 116123. I would quite like Happy Bars to present a curriculum program based on 116123 training, which could be rolled out in high schools. So you're seeing a lot of mixture of stuff here from me. I'm kind of a capitalist and kind of a socialist, and that's kind of what it's like. Holism Incorporated is a kind of way, I think, to move capitalism forward. I believe in capitalism, just not what this awful capitalism that we're getting right now is. I don't think that what is going on right now could really be described as legit capitalism. It's a kind of burglary of a high end. There's a little poem there about productivity and the power of love. When we figure out what we love, we should be doing that. It's maybe a bit of an Adam Smith type inspired vibe, but really, I want to make capitalism sustainable. I want to get us to a situation with 100% unionization in the workforce, 100% mutually owned enterprises that are community enterprises, and next to none of this kind of toxic extracting of wealth that goes on in corporations nowadays. So Holism Incorporated, I'm hoping that you're seeing roughly around about now. Details about the Rebel Business School, details about the Trevor Bayliss Act, details about Paradox Financial. How paradoxical our finances are. Very, very paradoxical, aren't they? And so it's a mixture, it's a hybrid. What you're getting with Holism Incorporated is a hybrid of capitalism and socialism. It's socialistic goals done with a capitalistic way. All right. Now, hopefully, also what you'll see is a little kind of solar system of brands and ideas. Those are, I think, altogether the intern level. So Holism Incorporated would be made up of members with a patch area, geography, and then interns. Interns would be anyone working for Deliveroo and Just Eat right now, or Uber, or anyone like that. You could easily just become an intern of Holism Incorporated very quickly right now, even if there isn't a member in your area. If you can get a paid up member in your area, they would supply superior bikes and equipment and such, and some brands that are to do with money lending and all to get other businesses up and running. To get people the equipment they need to be productive in the ways that are holistic. So with that, they've got the community billboard of Billboard Baggins. There's recycled manufacturing going on in Holism Incorporated. Can you believe recycled manufacturing? Yeah. Bike taxis, bike security, logistics, business finance, even the e-glamper, the Nomad, which we'll come to later on, and then Nessie Store, the Nesses. This is just Nessie. The Nessie City Store has come about as a way for me to avoid spelling the word necessity, and I'm hoping that will happen. We also then have Fetch. Fetch is quite cool. It's to do with the redistribution. We don't have a problem with distribution and waste. Well, Fetch is about redistribution of stuff. Very cool. Billboard Baggins. Let's talk about that. So we've got Billboard Baggins is a bite-sized marketing approach. Again, a kind of open source business plan that could be adopted by others elsewhere in the country. I'm going to like to do mine for the town of Leith, the area of Leith, because I want to win my election here. If you're running as an independent, you should definitely get in touch and let me know. You can definitely be becoming a user of the Billboard Baggins brand if you're an independent, definitely. And so we get love letters to business. I like to celebrate local business and champion them, and I do that via Billboard Baggins. Billboard Baggins. Fantastic. Stramash, meanwhile, is a kind of, as I say, spoken word debating, quiz, and politics type thing. The first one of Stramash should be taking place in May 2025, all going well. That will be taking place at a Shore Leith venue and will include a bit of open mic from myself, a bit of debating, and what I call political jazz, talking about politics in this way, in a jazzy way, unscripted way, a kind of an improvised act. See, this is all very improvised, I'm sure you can tell, since it's so average and whatnot. Some cool graphics and whatnot there. We've got a bike taxi co-op, Iain Dunn Cargo. So Iain Dunn Cargo and the Leith Bike Taxi Co-op, all this stuff came out of having the studio shut down because of pandemic, right? So my Pilates business got tanked by pandemic, and then I got obsessed with cargo bikes. Cargo bikes became my next thing, and then also I discovered that greens, although I'm a green person, I think I'm greener than the greens actually, having a plan and whatnot, but also I discovered that green people generally are quite poo-poo terrible at business. Yeah, sorry about that. So my core business, you can see Iain Dunn Pilates has evolved for my political campaign. This is just going to share some of the aspects of that. We've got a fitness tool library, pelvic health coaching, release, the talking therapies of release. Release would just be a way of kind of offloading about how bad pain in healthcare is and how much trouble we've all been into dealing with doctors and all the rest of it. But fundamentally, the Renaissance would be a scaling up of Studio Pilates, making Studio Pilates abundantly available to the community, for those that need it, not just for those that can afford it, but for all those who need, and universalizing it and bringing it into something more akin to the NHS. And actually, I think that my proposal for Renaissance should make every big fan of NHS thinking and NHS public health very, very happy. It's a public health plan. Public health plans inspired by Joseph Pilates really go along with my Iain Dunn Cargo project, you know. And all these little brands interacting, bringing together the grassroots human traffic workers union, a workers union for people making their living on the bike, next to people doing cargo bike stuff, so moving even bigger and better things to get less and less and less vans and car journeys and whatnot. And also they're going to need Pilates, aren't they? They're going to need a bit of Pilates. They're going to need a way of maintaining their poor bodies from doing what is quite grueling, but I mean, again, healthier and less toxic for your body than sitting behind a desk or sitting on a car. And I'm kind of offering a bike fitting kind of service as well. A few brands here putting that forward. Grassroots comes with a kind of roadside rescue for people who are wanting to support the union. They could benefit from having a call-out service from me, even if you're in the local Edinburgh community. As for the Nessie City store, again, you can kind of see the necessity. This Nessie City store could go in a few directions. I'm not trying to lock that down in any way. It's just a way to kind of include a way to market the idea of getting groceries, even groceries of a bigger volume, delivered to you by the cargo bike. The Bike Taxi Cooperative is very exciting. I think that, honestly, sometimes I think the Rebel Bike Taxi Co-op is my favourite one in here. But then I have that feeling a lot because it's all my work. So thanks for giving me this your time anyway. But the Rebel Bike Taxi Cooperative would be a way to make a specific vehicle designed for the UK, Scotland market, where it's very cold and wet and rainy and all that. The problem with the cycling active transport nonsense is it's dependent on everyone getting up and getting on a bike. This is never going to happen. It's a stupid idea. It's all been a gigantic waste of money, an absolute disaster. Even your sort of taxing people with the ULEZ thing and all that, I just honestly would abandon all that stuff personally and replace it with this, guys. So again, the answer to all of those problems, in my opinion, would be this. In other words, getting a professional to provide a lovely bicycle taxi which is comfortable and cozy to get passengers from point to point. And point to point travel by bike taxi would be my proposal for how to fix a great deal of our transport problems. Cozy, comfortable, executive luxury experience, point to point. And thus, you know, again, we're kind of seeing how a lot of these brands, even Velo Nova, oh yes, Velo Nova, additional one there, Velo Nova is me doing maintenance, which I'm very, very average at. I'm better at graphics than I am at bike maintenance, that's for sure. Into some banking banter, right? So Velo Naledi is the Rebel Retirements. Both the Velo Naledi and Draco Dormiens are kind of community banking services. Community banking services which I'd like to require funding for. My ultimate funding goal is to have £1.5 million to start, found, build from zero upwards the bank called Draco Dormiens. Draco Dormiens is my proposal for a green investment bank which will provide business loans for people to start up and run a Holism incorporated enterprise in their local community. How cool is that? Very exciting, yeah? Meanwhile, the Nomads. Let's move on to the Nomads. Nomad is a concept of a survival unit, a kind of miniaturized mobile home type device which is pedalable. The concept with Nomad is to have a vehicle that is a survival vehicle, could even be a marketing vehicle, could be all sorts of things, a box really on wheels. Unfortunately, there's a box person locally that thinks they have a patent on boxes on wheels and all that. I don't think they do, but that's what they claim. So Nomad is not stalled, but has reached an end point with design where I'm ready to sort of discuss selling the idea and maybe getting it to some developers to build it and take it forward, right? Meanwhile, concierge with a Z, because it's kind of zero emission. Concierge, a beautiful 5-star version, super premium version of Stinky, Deliveroo, Just Eat, Uber type people. You understand? So we're offering the Rebel Bike Taxi Co-op to disrupt Uber and whatnot, and we're offering concierge to address the situation with the Deliveroo, the Just Eat type thing. This is a way for local Just Eat dudes and Deliveroo dudes and girls and people and anyone doing that work to immediately switch over to this thing and find themselves doing something more in alignment with their own well-being. Healthier, better, paid more money, workers keep money. It's all really conducted with the grassroots union operating in adjacently to that. So a little bit about feministic politics here, a little bit of feminism politics here. Magdalene Act we discussed earlier on is a way to try and protect women and girls. Major problem in politics, protecting of women and girls, just completely ineffective, absolute trash really, to be honest. What's going on, cops, pretty useless. What I'm proposing, rather controversially, this might be one of my more controversial ones here, me being provocateur and whatnot. I'm writing fiction novels, sci-fi future fiction novels about wokeness gone mad. Just to be provocative and whatnot. Wokeness has not gone mad. Wokeness and liberalism and all that, that's my politics. I am as woke and liberal as you'll ever get. However, I do understand that sometimes the baddies can have an identity that we would normally think of as not being a hazardous identities. We have blind spots and whatnot. Meanwhile, Karen, personal security, Karen with a K, obviously, is a rather, again, toxic, controversial use of the term. However, Karen is actually a taser that I have devised. So a taser system would be one of my major policy proposals. A taser, nationally deployed tasers, widely deployed tasers that are of a single use function, that are only to be used under emergency circumstances. When deployed, they would take pictures, they would capture data to enable absolute guarantee of conviction of either A, person being tased, or B, person who has used tased unlawfully. Sometimes there'll be accidental dispatch and all, and that will detect that as well, but usually speaking it might be somebody misusing the thing, which would have a very high sentence, and someone receiving a zap because of a legitimate reason, which would be a violation, potential physical assault, potential reproductive rights kind of issue of that kind, if you know what I mean. Zap, zap, zap. Everyone's happy and better. Now, I think that zap, zap, zap is a solution because it's non-violent, it's non-lethal, it should guarantee the protection of women and should be deployable around the country relatively safely. Could this come with hazards? Well, of course. The trouble is that's why you have to have the deterrence, but again, we're trying to deal with a problem that currently exists, and I'd like to debate that politically with anyone who's up for it. I mean, this is a proposal of mine. And so knowing what people think would be very useful. Speaking of proposals of mine, so moving on to the Manchurian Candidate. And the Manchurian Candidate is my satire brand. I use this brand, the Manchurian Candidate. You'll find me on Instagram, Spotify, a few places like that, promoting myself as an anti-abolitionist. Oh, sorry, wait a minute, let me rephrase that. Anti-prohibition person when it comes to cannabis in particular, but many other drugs too. And so Breaking Sad is my campaign to say an end to the war on drugs altogether. There should not be a war on drugs. In fact, some of these drugs are actually helping people get better and all the rest of it. You can see here a few other brands knocking around. Cocaine Beaver, cocaine, that says, not cocaine, just to be clear, don't say that. Cocaine is a way of having human task accelerant fluids. This is kind of my own brand of a sort of non-toxic stimulant beverage. Catharsis is recycled products for cats. Nostradamus is just me being me. And open source medicine. Now, open source medicine is quite a serious one. Openly sourced medical treatment, medical care and whatnot is a major part of my platform. Moving on then, we've got this Lang Samhain, Samhain, I think we say, was the Halloween running up to the election of Donald Trump. Just to let you know that I spent that whole time doing my very best on the internet to encourage people to vote for Kamala Harris and doing my very best to stop people from calling for boycotting of Kamala Harris. Things are very, very bad, aren't they? The golden toilet people should not be in charge anymore. People with golden toilets are completely intolerable to me, certainly in politics. Let's get rid of them, eh? My final slide now here, if you're on it now, it should be, hopefully that's worked out not too badly timing-wise, but we'll see how it's going. Talking about capitalist reformation. Overall, my politics is to do with reforming capitalism and getting us to a more holistic society, right? A holistic society where people can be productive regardless of what the job market thinks of them. Maybe they have disabilities, challenges, and whatnot. We would be catering to that. Creating jobs would be by offering, providing, giving, delivering on open source business models, business plans that actually create growth in a very, very stable way, because the people doing the productivity, creating the growth, are doing it along a kind of business plan that we've devised that should work. I mean, and actually other people in the neighborhood should be doing something fairly similar. When it comes to like a UFO, comes to like a concierge, collaboration in a local area, would be the way to guarantee that things are moving forward in a brand consistent way. But of course, this is an open source concept. So again, I can't really take control of the thing. These are intellectual property ideas, which I would like to bring into politics and deliver to the community. It is capitalism. I am a capitalist, but as I like to say, it is capitalism, Jim, just not as we know it, as if Mr. Spock was here. And it is kind of time for us to move into the Star Trek era of capitalism quite quickly, don't you think? Where things are, the commodities that we have are shared more evenly, particularly the wealth is shared more evenly. There will always, unfortunately, be some inequality, but I do not accept at all any tolerance of homelessness and poverty and a kind of predatory capitalism that we have right now, monopoly capitalism. I think that is an absolute outrage. I'd like us to move into a world where capitalism is a positive, socially positive thing that includes all members of a community and is not built on exploitation of humans. In fact, it's humans doing things that they love and us helping them be good at doing the things that they love by offering business plans in lots of different sectors. Here's a business plan for that. Here's a business plan for that, etc., etc., etc. Holistic way to make money in your community and get by without a stinky boss, a horrible executive. That would just be me. Really, all you need from me to use a Holism brand is some kind of what I call a handshake. I wouldn't mind hearing from you. I wouldn't mind knowing who you are. I wouldn't mind knowing what you plan to do with my business models, what you plan to do with these ideas, and if that, primarily so that I can help you, but also so that maybe I can say, why don't you run for politics? Because we need people in politics. As well as doing these businesses is fantastic, but if you're up for this and you're proactive enough to go, hey, I'm going to give that an idea, well, you might be a very, very good politician if you were to try your hand at that. So thanks for watching this whole presentation. Sorry for the timing hasn't quite lined up on everything. I wanted to just do a narration of the Lebowski as it stands. Lebowski's as it stands is an ever-growing thing. I'll have to do another one next year or whatever. And again, I think a nice annual review process of all constitutional matters and all business models and business plans, just kind of keep things ticking over. That's how I have a mindset to continue to grow into the future. Any support you can give me would be great. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I am on Patreon. Of course, you could fund me through Patreon. Hopefully you're here because of a door knocking reason, as in I've knocked on your door. Now you're here to see what I'm all about. Maybe you're here for a business reason. Maybe you're here to see, would I like to have this guy do some marketing for my business or whatever. I would love to do that if you're in the Leith area. Leith is such a fantastic area. I am not cool enough to be here. You're cooler than me. And I'll come and celebrate your business in a kind of cringy way and do anything kind of silly and daft I can to help you grow. If you're just a member of the community and you're looking for a way out of your god-awful job or your horrendous corporate job, whatever it might be, you think we're just worried about the planet and you want to do something that's going to improve the life for people and planet, maybe Happy Bars is a good one for you. Maybe the Leith Bike Taxi Co-op is a one for you. Maybe they're all for you. This is the thing about having a patch. As a member, you'll have all the brands if you take on a patch and become a full member of Holism Incorporated. Anyone can become an intern. Anyone can immediately become a holistic intern with Holism Incorporated. You can just decide to do it right now. You don't really need not much from me. As long as you want to call it that, salute to me a wee bit, say hello, say thanks, get in touch. You might need a little help. I'm here to help. Absolutely. This is what I love to do. Help people move forward with their lives and help people to get to a more productive environment. Think of this as a kind of third way forward, okay? It's a third way forward. Cooperative business models, mutually owned stuff, and also creativity and politics. Just everything coming together, really. Holistic. Holism. Get it? Okay, thanks for listening now. Bye.